I'm telling women if they're in a miserable situation, you can either choose to leave or you can stay miserable forever.
You've tested different pains in your life.
I wasn't allowed to see any friends or family. I was just wanting to survive.
Maye has 3 successful children, and one of them is Elon. What do you think made him this way? So I like to ask personal questions, not because I like gossip.
Gossip is good.
It's fun,
It's
I
very
guess.
bonding.
It's probably. What would you tell any woman who might be stuck? Hi, Maye.
Hi.
I really like that you don't know anything about this show.
I know nothing about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first question is always the same. It's how are you really doing?
I'm going great. I'm here. I'm having a best time. And the year is looking good.
You know, I hope this year is much sweeter and more peaceful, because last year was a bit unique and uniquely strange, I would say.
Yes.
You know, so I hope so. So in this phase, you'd say you're doing great?
Yes, very busy and very excited about all the travels I'll be doing, the talks and the modeling. And I'm writing another book.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many books do you have?
Well, I wrote one in '96 and that was called Feel Fantastic. And it was really about the patients who would come and see me, because, you know, that's my real job. I'm a dietitian. And then the questions they asked and how I would answer them and convince them to change their eating habits to become healthier. And so that was in '96, but it was sold out quite quickly. And then I moved to the United States. And then I wrote a book 5 years ago, and it's in 32 languages and over 100 countries. So it's doing well.
Of course it is.
Yes, yes.
Who are you when no one's around?
Well, I have no makeup on. I'm with my dog and probably on my iPad.
Okay.
Scrolling X, because that can stop me from sleeping, because there's always so much stuff going on. And once you click on cat and dog videos, you just, you know, the algorithm just brings them up and they're the cutest things.
And your childhood in 3 words?
Yes, well, moved from Canada to South Africa when I was 2. Happy parents, happy family, who worked hard and were entrepreneurs.
And one more. So I wanted 3 words. So we'll say happy, entrepreneurial also.
Yes.
What else?
That's healthy.
Healthy.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was your relationship with your parents?
It was wonderful. They were very respectful of each other and of us. And so they made us very independent. We had to make our own choices and be responsible for our own choices. And so that was, to me, normal. It wasn't normal for other kids.
Yeah, that's true. You know, we don't know how good or bad we have it until we grow up and compare. Because you're brought up in this environment, it's comfortable for you. It's what you know.
Yeah. It was, you know, from the age of 4, my twin sister and I would walk to school, and my older sister of 7 would help us cross the 3 roads. And then after that, we were on our own for about half a kilometer, walking, holding hands, going to nursery school. No other kids were walking alone. But my parents just thought we would be responsible enough, and we did.
Tell me about, you had a trip with your family around the world in 1952?
That was my parents went around the world. They went from South Africa to Australia in a single engine plane. The only people to do it. All up Africa, across Europe and Asia, across the sea to Australia and back. They're the only people to ever do it. And they were adventurous.
That's an understatement.
Because there's no maps. They only had a compass. And there was no GPS. There was no radio. Yeah.
Well, okay. What was like a good or a great memory you remember from your childhood?
Well, we would go to the Kalahari Desert, and we were also the only family to go across the desert for 3 weeks with a 3-week supply of water, food, and gas and petrol. And we would go across the desert, which taught us a lot about life, that you can live with very little, because we would sleep on the ground, under the skies, and sometimes hyenas and lions would come into the camp, and then we would have to get into the tent or the car.
Interesting.
Yeah. So after that, I could, I went through different stages in my life. Did you read my book?
Not yet.
Oh,
I know. I will never lie to you and tell you yes. So
yes, well, it's sold out, I think, but there's the audio vision that I read. So
I prefer paper. I like to read.
Yes,
books.
I know. That's what many people say.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try and reprint more.
Okay, we need to talk to somebody here.
Yes,
then.
Yes, I think so. And so it gives a lot of my experiences.
Okay. Is it the memoir?
I didn't know what it was, because I was asked to write a book about my life and what the ups and, why I was then successful as a dietitian, a doctor of dietetics, and a model. And then my kids said, you have to talk about your struggles. And I said, I'm not letting anybody know I had a hard time. And then I did. And then many women and men are relating. They say they've changed their lives and I've saved them. No, really didn't expect that.
I think your kids told you the right thing to do. And this is kind of what the show is about. I like to discover the human behind their titles. So I like to ask personal questions, not because I like gossip. It's because I think...
Gossip is good.
It's fun,
it's very bonding.
It's probably... But it's when somebody watches you and realizes they're not alone.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's very powerful. And I'd like to ask you, what did you learn from your marriage when you were married?
After that, if I saw any man who was treating their wife or girlfriend badly, I remember going to a cocktail party, and then the husband says, if I wasn't married to her, I'd be after you. And I said, you don't have a chance. And I'd say to her, come, let's go and have a drink. And she says, no, she can't go. He'll be mad. I said, I don't care. You're coming with me. And he was upset because he thinks he's so great and that I would really be charmed by him. And I thought he was insulting and I wouldn't allow that. So I got divorced at 31. I'm now 76. So then I did do quite a lot of dating. And somehow they'd start off nice. The guys would start off nice and then they'd cheat on me or be mean or do something horrible. And I would stay in that relationship too long because they'd apologize, and then I would just get out of it. You have to just break up. You can't live in misery.
Maye, I always realize that there is an art to quitting. Because, in this world we talk about staying and staying as if it's always the right thing. But there's also an art to know when to leave. And I think sometimes people just stay too long in certain things.
I stayed too long in everything I did. Every miserable situation, I really would try to make it better, but you can't change people, and but you can change your situation. So, and that I did a few times, and that also made me go back to studying my hospital internship as a dietitian, which is great because then I worked with all the chronic diseases in the different wards, and then we lived in a one bedroom apartment because it was the doctor's quarters attached to the university hospital, and so my kids were in the bedroom and I was in the living room kitchen. Just these are small places, and Elon was then living with his dad, so he came and he would sleep on the couch. And I said to my kids recently, to Kimball and Tosca, why did you put up with sleeping in a one-bedroom apartment? They said, did we have a choice? I said, no, you didn't. So they had to do that. Yeah.
You called that time in your life your winning time.
Well, it's not my winning. It made me more efficient and more professional as a dietitian, because I could then work with chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, osteoporosis, all those kind of patients. Whereas before, without the internship, I was only doing obesity.
Okay.
Yeah, weight loss.
And I know that you said you had your fair share of unhealthy or abusive relationships, or the ones that just weren't successful, and you turned to food.
Yes. On 2 occasions, I've actually gained 30 kilograms. So the one was when I was 20, and I'd won a beauty competition, and I was a finalist for Miss South Africa, but it was also my final year at university. And I was studying sciences, but in Afrikaans, and my Afrikaans wasn't good enough. And I was studying both so hard that I just ate my way through it, because I'm not naturally lean. I have to be careful about what I eat. And I thought, well, when I'm a dietitian, I'll know what to eat. And I did know what to eat, but I ate. But I was just too stressed, and I gained a lot of weight. And then in that situation, I was suddenly, your back hurts, your knees hurt. And then I was doing, teaching nurses how to help mothers with new babies, feeding, the nutrition section. And I was alone in a new city, and just no friends, you're lonely, you're obese, you've got pain. And then my ex-husband then told my parents I'm going to marry him, and they were surprised. They didn't know I was seeing him because I wasn't. But then I thought, well, what can be worse than my situation? And then I did marry him. But as I say, we had 3 great kids.
That's when you look at the positive side.
Yeah, really.
3 souvenirs.
Yeah.
In your memoir, I read, and this was interesting that you shared this, that a young Elon of 5 years old had to try to defend his mother from his father hitting you.
Yeah.
Why did you share that?
Because they wanted me to share those stories. I know, because I would always have to drive the car, and there was no car seats, you didn't have safety belts in those days. And the kids were in the back, and then he would be punching me on the arm, and then Elon would stand between them and start punching his arm while he was punching me, because he didn't like that. And and when sometimes we'd stop at a traffic light, and somebody in the other car would say, you have to stop that. And he would say, I'm coming after you. And then the guy would rather drive away than have him come after them, because, you don't want him beating up a stranger in a car. He wasn't willing to go through that.
I can only imagine, May. I'm a father of 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. How old?
15 and 10.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Divorced also, but we
Yeah.
had we tried our best, and we have 2 souvenirs. But I can only imagine how difficult it is for our children to be subjected to that environment, because you're the mother. You don't want Elon or any of your children to feel responsible or try to defend. I can only imagine how difficult, because you're already suffering, but now the kids have to be part of this mix. And I can only imagine for a mother how difficult that situation could be.
Well, I was just wanting to survive.
Yeah.
So, but then when my kids were 5, 4, and 2, that's when the first time my then husband was going to attack me at a party. And then that's when I wasn't allowed to see any friends or family. That's when the wives took me to my mom, and the husbands held back their husbands held back my ex-husband and then husband. And then my mom heard for the first time that he was beating me up. And then he came the next morning, because he didn't know where I was, but he came to my mom's home, and he cried and was on his knees, and he promised never to hit me again. And she said, you touch her again, and she will, and the divorce is immediate. So then I did go back, because we had organized a big dinner that night, a charity dinner. So he said, you've got to come, And he didn't hit me after that. And that gave me a lot of power, because I could then start my private practice, and I wasn't bruised, so I could go back. Well, I didn't know I'd go back to modeling because, you know, I was 28. That was very old for a model. 18 was old for a model. So I was 28, and they needed mother of the bride. And I thought that, but then I could do it, you know, and it gives you a lot of power then and then I started my practice and I found out I was really successful as a dietitian, seeing patients. One bedroom I made into an office and they would come there. And so then at 31, he still screamed and shouted at me all the time, but that's okay, you know, I could put up with that. And then at 31, when I was going to go to our holiday home on the coast that I'd bought, actually it was mine, after my dad died, my mom gave me a farm that I sold. And so I took the kids there and I got divorced in 10 court days, which is very quick because I wanted nothing. And then I would go there and then I just said, I'm not going back. I'm just not going back. And that's when I decided to get divorced.
What would you tell any woman who might be stuck and she's watching this? What would because you've been through it, May, and you have such a powerful position now that people will respect every word you say. You've been there, and you restructured your life. You raised 3 children, and you left an abusive relationship. What do you think women need to hear from a lady that's been there?
Well, what my family has told me is, why didn't I tell them? Why didn't I tell them what I was going through? And I just thought I had to be responsible for myself, you know, whatever decisions I make. And then and my friends told me, because of course they're reading my book and they say, why didn't we know about this? Because women don't tell anyone. And they don't want to, they feel like they're disloyal or their family might not support them, but my family would have supported me. And they would have actually, and even friends offered to support me financially too. But I didn't want anything from anyone. I wanted to be independent. And so I'm telling women they should really, if they're in a miserable situation, you can either choose to leave and then get support from family and friends, or you can stay miserable forever. That's your choice.
What kept you going?
Oh, I don't know. I was just so happy after the divorce. I mean, you may not. I did have savings, but then he stole that from me because he still had signing rights on my bank account. I was happy after my divorce because no matter how poor I was, I didn't have someone beating me up. You know, it's a big difference.
You just reminded me of, maybe one day if we're in touch, I'll send you my mother. My mother's story is an interesting story. She's a very powerful woman too. And she talks about, you just reminded me of something she said, like the moment she left the court after the divorce, the feeling she had sitting in the car. I'll tell you about it more later.
But I can understand that feeling because when I got divorced, I couldn't believe it. I was just so excited. So anything after that was better than what I was in. Yeah.
What does love mean to you?
Oh, well, we have a lot of love in our family, you know, and a lot of great friends. So, but we don't say, oh, I love it. Well, actually, we do say that too. I was going to say, we don't say love. We do end all our texts and our emails with love, you know, love, M, that's me. And then, yeah, it's, we do, my 3 kids and I, we do love each other, and it's just wonderful.
Did you ever think of getting married again?
No. And the reason
that was quick.
No, the reason is, whoever I dated, I couldn't see him being with me the rest of my life because another divorce is not pleasant. So I rather and so then they would dump me, but that is better than me because I wouldn't commit, you know. And so that's my decision.
What are you afraid of?
Health. I think mainly being unhealthy, you know, it's very tragic. And falling, they say you don't fall when you're older. So every time there's steps, and I don't have my glasses on, and then my manager, Anna, she's sitting over there, she makes sure she's next to me every time we see steps. Because
you seem fit.
Because I don't need glasses, I need it for reading, but I do need it a bit if there are steps.
What is your relationship with pain?
Like physical pain?
Pain. You've tested different pains in your life.
Yes.
So what is, if I had to take you as Maye and pain, what's the relationship?
Well, I've had back pain and that's fine now. Knee pain and that's fine now. That's physical pain. And sadness, I guess it's more sadness when you break up a relationship or discover or things don't work out. You could be a little sad. Yeah, but then you have to keep going.
Do you think you took pain and learned from it, or did it crumble you for a big part of your life, or you used it for your benefit?
Well, when I was, as I say, final year of university, I was in great pain because I needed to complete my degree, and so then I ate myself out of that one, and then also in my mid-30s, I ate myself out of a bad relationship too. Yeah.
Why is health and nutrition so important to you?
Health is everything. When you're not healthy, you really can't produce and be happy. So that's why, and it just sets you back when you're not healthy.
So according to us from the outside to the world, Maye looks like she has 3 successful children. It depends what people regard success, but from the outside. And one of them is Elon, who is changing the world and has changed the world. What do you think made him this way?
I saw it gradually. First of all, as a kid, he always could see the future. He always said, well, what about this in the future? And I'm saying, what? How can you say that? That's not going to happen, then it happens. And then he published his first computer program. He wrote it when he was 12. It was published when he was 13. And then he wanted to move to America, but you can't go to America. However, he'd read that women can now give Canadian citizenship to their children. So he brought me all the forms. Now he's 16, 17 there. And so I go to the Canadian embassy with all my papers. I was born in Canada and all the family that are there. And they said, oh, no, you still can't get it. And so then I thought, I need to go back. I go back, see somebody else. I said, why are you coming with all this? You're born there. You get it immediately. So just to let you know, if you get rejected from one person, go back and find another person. So then I got it right away. And 3 weeks later, I could give it to my children. And 3 weeks later, they had passports. Okay. And then Elon said, now he's leaving for Toronto. Or for Canada. We didn't know where he would visit my family. So I wrote to all the family members, and the mail took 6 weeks, but he was going in 3 weeks. So he would just turn up on their doorsteps. I'm Maye's son. And he just went to explore it. The weirdest thing is because I didn't have much savings. I was just, I was always on the edge that way. When I'd won the beauty competition at 20 and got 100 rand, suddenly it was, I'd met a guy who was a stockbroker and said, you've got to put it into stocks. And I'm saying, yeah, I don't even know what stocks are. I'll put it in, it's 100 rand and you'll make a lot of money. So I did that. And then it was the depression, the big stock collapse. And suddenly it's 10 rand. And I said, what's this about? So thank you very much, And but then when Elon was born, I said, I don't want to hear about this 10 rands that I've got in this stock. I'm going to put it in his name. So I did. But now he was 17, and I said, I wonder if it's still around, And then I find out it is, and it's $2,000 or 2,000 rand, which was like $2,000. And so he had that money to be able to fly to Canada and explore. Okay. And then he went to different family members and So then my daughter said, let's go to Canada now. I was going to do my PhD. And she said, I'd already done a Master of Science degree. That was with colostomy patients. And so that took 4 years because you typed everything. You typed everything, and if you change any paragraph, you retype the whole thing. So I think I retyped that thesis 12 times. And then you cut and paste, and people wonder where cut and paste comes from, is that you put all the papers on the floor, and then you cut it, and then you paste it, and then you write between what you wanted to add in, and then you retype the whole thesis again. So that's where cut and paste comes from.
Okay.
Yeah, you learn something.
Yeah,
we used to cut and paste and then write, and then we can retype it.
Okay.
So then, so now I've gone off on a tangent about
That's
cutting
okay.
and
We'll go
pasting.
back to Elon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so Tosca said, "Why don't you do your PhD in Canada?" So I said, "Well, yeah." She said, "Go and explore." So I go. I join Elon, and we go to 6 major cities. They would take me on as a PhD. The model agencies would take me on as a model. They needed one older model. They'd never known of a model at 40 years old, but they thought they just needed one. So that was easy. And then I come back, and my daughter had sold my home, my car, and my furniture. I just had to sign it. But she was 5'10", 15, and they didn't know I hadn't given her permission. And so people say, "Well, weren't you mad about it?" I said, I had no choice. Everything was gone. I just had to sign everything. And then we stayed with a friend, and then we moved. But then my funds were blocked from in South Africa. So then, again, we stayed in a 1-bedroom apartment in Toronto, a furnished apartment that we could pay the rent in South Africa. So we were allowed to take $2,000 only. And then Tosca and I slept in the bed, and Elon slept on the couch. And then I got a research officer position at the University of Toronto. But I said it can only be part-time because I do other things, private practice and giving talks and writing articles for food companies, that type of thing. And so while I was doing that degree, studying there, I could do other things, and that worked out very well. But my kids didn't see me, you can imagine, because I was working at the university, then taking other jobs in the day. 2 nights a week I was teaching modeling, because then I get a free office in a model agency. Can you imagine a dietitian in a model agency? But they gave me a free office. And then 2 nights a week I would teach early childhood education in the nutrition field at a college. And I had one coat. Tosca, my daughter, found the coats that you could buy a coat in South Africa because nobody had coats. We didn't need them. We got one coat that we both wore for 2 years until we could afford a second coat, but didn't mind. And then I had boots that my older sister had worn when she was a flamenco dancer at the Moulin Rouge in Brussels. Yes, yeah, she was a home economics teacher. That's what she studied, but she's always loved Spanish dancing. So she went to Madrid, studied, and I've still got all her costumes she had homemade, that she had made in Madrid when she was doing all her performances. Anyway, so that's going off at a tangent again. Okay, so my children are they make up their own minds, and they make drastic changes in my life, and they're always for the good, because they see that it'll be better for me, and it always ends up being better for me.
If you had to choose one word that describes each one.
Okay, so Elon's my genius.
Okay.
All right. Kimball is the sweetest guy, the carer. He used to cook for us.
Yeah.
Tosca is bold and dynamic, and she's got her own platform, Passion Flicks, and she makes romance movies from best-selling romance books. Because she'd been working in the film, she studied film. She was working in the film industry, and all the women were victims and were violated. And she just said, I don't need that anymore. We need one where it can be romantic. And it saved many marriages, because they are really romantic, these stories.
Okay. How would you like to be remembered?
That I have a sense of humor. And yeah, I'm a happy person.
Who is someone that has passed and every time you remember them, you would love to spend time with them?
Well, my mother and father are passed, and they were both magnificent people. So, you know, my dad died in a plane accident, but my mom died at 98. She stopped working at 96. So I did spend a lot of time with her, so that was good.
If you could type a letter for her and she would read it now, what would you type?
She would say, "Why are you typing a letter?"
Really?
Yeah, why? Why? Yeah, she'd say, "Just give me a call."
Okay, final one, because I know you have a busy day. May in one word.
Oh, smart. I think I'm smart.
I think you're too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.